On this edition of Dan Shonka's Scouting Section, we're going to take a look at the real playoffs in college football as the FCS semifinals take place this weekend, including our lads' fourth-rated senior QB prospect, Jeremiah Briscoe, going for Sam Houston State on Friday night against the North Dakota State program looking for their sixth national title in 7 years. Dan will give you his current report on the top FCS players in action this weekend to keep an eye on for the 2018 NFL Draft, as the OFN Scouting Section with Dan Shonka on the Our Lads Football Radio Network starts now. All right, it's Thursday, December 14, 2017. I'm Greg DePalma. You're listening to the Our Lads Football Radio Network, where it's never too early to think about the NFL Draft. As I'm welcoming Dan Shonka. And Dan, in case anybody is jonesing for playoff action, even though they got to wait about a month for the FBS, they don't have to wait more than 24 hours for the FCS semifinals, and we get to see a pretty exciting quarterback in Jeremiah Briscoe.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. I've followed these guys. In fact, my son played at South Dakota State, and so I like to study the Missouri Valley, for instance, and they got two in the semifinals right now. So, yeah, it's going to be a really good weekend. And Jeremiah Briscoe was the FCS Heisman Trophy winner, I guess you'd say, last year, winning the top awards there. They got a new offensive coordinator at Sam Houston State, and his numbers aren't as astronomical as they were last year. I mean, he threw 57 touchdown passes a year ago and everything, but really a guy that's a drop back passer that transferred from Alabama Birmingham when they closed down football a couple of years ago. And if you study that what they did at Alabama Birmingham a couple of years ago, there's guys all over the place that they were just tremendous players, and they end up getting in the NFL, and there's guys all over the place. So UAB was really good. They're back this year. They're in a bowl game. Yeah. Coach Clark ought to get a big medal for what he's done there. But, yeah, this Briscoe is a guy that he has a chance to probably get drafted most likely later in the, in the 5th to 7th round. Just depends on how many of these quarterbacks are going to get drafted and all that, but anyway, Briscoe is a guy that he'll be very entertaining to watch him play.
And does he have, compared to other FCS quarterbacks, and of course we've had some really good FCS quarterbacks that have played in the NFL, what's his ceiling? Does he have any shot at all to start, or is he basically best case scenario, a backup quarterback at the next level?
I think he's a developmental backup, Greg. He's got good arm strength, good timing, and makes good decisions and things. But he's running into a buzzsaw tomorrow. I'll tell you, North Dakota State's awfully good in their home now. I mean, it's pretty tough to beat them up there. And so he's going to be going up from South Texas up to the frigid land of the Dakotas, and a lot like he's never seen before.
Well, it's a good test then to give him an opportunity to. So basically, what's his weakness then? What is it that when you look at a guy like that, what is it that you don't see, and why he's not a top-rated quarterback?
Well, I think that he doesn't probably have as much mobility as some, and he's a drop-back passer. He has got decent height though, and size to him. So I think that he's probably, I would say, just he's above average athlete, but maybe for the NFL he's going to be right in that in that window there, probably be in the later draft areas.
All right, and also for Sam Houston State, they have a couple other guys on offense to keep an eye on. Friday night, they have an All-American first-teamer junior wide receiver, Davion Davis, who's got 30 career touchdowns, 17 this year, and former Kansas running back Corey Avery's got almost 4,000 career yards. Anybody else on Sam Houston State to keep an eye on, or is Briscoe the only draftable prospect?
Well, I'll tell you, P.J. Hall is garnered all kinds of awards on the defensive side. He lacks the length really to be a big time pass rushing defensive end, but
Okay.
he certainly can play as an under tackle, a guy that's quick off the ball. He's a very athletic guy. He's around 6'1", 300 pounds, but they move him around in that defensive front, and he's got buku sacks and pressures and things like that. So both Briscoe and Hall are scheduled to play in the Shrine game. So they'll get to test their wares against other Division I caliber players.
All right, and their opponent, North Dakota State, they've won an awful lot of championships, as I mentioned at the outset. So they are the favorite in this matchup. Nick DeLuca, who is an All-American linebacker, and also Austin Kunert is an All-American center. These guys are listed in your draft brochure. And they also have Nate Tangway, a defensive tackle for North Dakota State. Who is your top prospect on the team?
Well, you got to look at DeLuca. He's really a tremendous football player, and he was injured a year ago, had a knee injury, and was out for the whole season. Then he came back this year, and before he got hurt against Iowa, he looked like he belonged in the Big Ten when they beat Iowa last year. North Dakota State beat the Hawks, and then DeLuca was really well. Then the next game is when he got injured, but he's a guy that he's going to play in the Senior Bowl, so he's going to get good exposure there. He does have a little bit of a medical history that just depends on what each team thinks, but he had that knee, had surgery on it. He's had a couple other knee things on that same knee, so that will be critical. But he is an NFL caliber player that could get drafted. He was 100% well. He'd probably be drafted in the middle round.
All right, that's not bad at all. And Kunert, also a draftable prospect, the center.
Yeah, he'd be a late guy.
Okay.
Center, and he could also play guard. He's got good size and real physical type player.
All right, and then the game tomorrow, defending national champs James Madison. They've won 25 straight games, take on South Dakota State. And the top prospect in this game, or the guy that I'd like to keep an eye on, there's a couple of guys actually for South Dakota State. First of all is the tight end, Dallas Goedert. This kid last year had 92 receptions, over almost 1,300 yards, and 11 touchdowns. He's got almost 3,000 yards receiving, nearly 200 receptions, and 20 touchdowns. So what kind of a prospect is this kid Goedert?
Well, I tell you, everybody wonders where this guy come from, and he played 8-man football in South Dakota, and I guess you'd say it's kind of a Carson Wentz story. I mean, he just exploded once he got onto the college level. He redshirted there at South Dakota State, and has been a real force there. They do that just routinely at South Dakota State. They redshirt all the freshmen and everything, and then they got 4 years to play, and he just got bigger, stronger, faster. He ran 4.7 for the Scouts this spring. He's 6'5", about 265, and he looks like an NFL tight end. And a lot of scouts I know that went through there, they kind of remind him of a little bit, the Travis Kelce, the Kansas City Chiefs right now. So
wow.
He's got excellent hands and but big, strong target that can run. And I mean, every game he made a great catch. I mean, it was like an unbelievable. I guess if you're a YouTube guy, you go into YouTube, but he's made tremendous one-handed catches, stabbed the ball out of the air, over shoulder, down the field catch. I mean, he's a circus catch machine, and so yeah, he'll if he's 100%, he rolled his ankle a little bit last game. against New Hampshire, and he sat out basically about 3/4 of the game. And
Okay.
the next guy we're going to talk about, Jake Winicky, took full advantage. He's another Cooper Cup, and he snags everything. You talk about a lot of catches. I think you're going to bring that up here in a minute.
Yeah, Winicky, 6'4", had last week actually, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns in that win over New Hampshire. 58 career touchdowns for this kid, who you actually rated as your 14th senior wide receiver just a couple of months ago. By the way, Godert was your number 1 rated senior tight end. So what about Winicky? You mentioned Cooper Kupp. Kupp was a better prospect, but where is Winicky?
Well, I tell you, I guess it remains to be seen because I was a big Cooper Kupp fan, as you know, and I'm a big Jake Winicky fan, and I think he's going to run similar to Kupp.
Really?
And he's a little bit taller, and he catches the ball every bit as well. So
okay,
it's just a matter. Plus, as you know, Greg, I've talked several times on the show about, I love those tough, smart guys.
Yeah.
And this guy was FCS Athlete of the Year academically, and along with, being a great football player. And he's going to be in the East-West Shrine game, and the fans will get to see him show his wares there. But great hands. In fact, last week, like you said, he had 146 yards, 2 touchdown catches, but he also ran a reverse 46 yards for a touchdown. So, and we shook a couple guys in the open field, then he went right down the sideline, and it was all over. So, this guy, he's caught over 5,000 yards in passes in his 4-year career there. So he's a big target that is going to make a lot of people happy when he goes to the next level, because he's got it all. He's a total package.
All right. Well, and is he going to be at the East-West or the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, he's at the East-West.
East-West. Okay, excellent. And by the way, Godert, did you rate him as what, as far as, even though he's your number 1 senior, of course, Mark Andrews
right,
would have to be the number 1 overall tight end, correct? And that would mean
yes.
Is Godert your number 2 right now?
Yeah, he is. And, there's Jasicki out there, but I think he's ahead of Fumagalli from Wisconsin. And, but Godert, like I said, he'll be in the Senior Bowl, and people get to see him there and everything. So, yeah, hey, these FCS schools are going to be a lot of fun, not only to watch this weekend and, in the national championship game, but also once the All-Star game starts.
And then finally, anybody on the James Madison, because they're a pretty big defensive team. You've got All-American defensive end Andrew Ankra. You've got All-American defensive back Jordan Brown, junior corner Rashad Robinson. Both Brown and Robinson have 7 interceptions each. Is there anybody that you like on James Madison that would be considered a draftable prospect?
Well, I think that they got Steiny, tackle that could possibly work his way into a guard spot. He's a talented guy, but he's a little bit, he plays tackle for them, but he's a little bit undersized there. But no, they do play tremendously well as a team. South Dakota State's going to have their work cut out, because James Madison went into North Dakota State last year and pulled an upset and and broke the long string of national championships and things. They're getting them to the national championship and the semis. So they're very good, and they got really a nice stadium and a nice setup there at James Madison, and it's a heck of a football program, and so it's going to be a real battle. But I tell you, I really believe South Dakota State is up for it. And one guy we didn't mention is the center there, Jacob Orsorgi. He's also going to play in the East-West Shrine game. And there's the center now that was on 3 state championships in Wisconsin in high school as a center. And he was a 4-year starter at South Dakota State, was a first-team All-American this year, and is one of the best football players in South Dakota State history. So there's another, he's a little short. He's like 6'2", but he's 295. And if you ever saw a bull on the interior with his explosiveness, take a look at this guy. So, there's another one. But yeah, that's going to be, like I said, a real and I'll tell you, South Dakota State has got next year's quarterback. It will be a pro prospect, and also the quarterback for North Dakota State will be a pro prospect next year, Ethan Stick. So there's a heck of a linebacker at South Dakota State that's people are going to like a year from now too. So there's a lot of pro prospects that are going to South Dakota State side that they're going to give James Madison. James Madison hasn't seen a team like them this year, I guarantee you.
Well, look, I mean, Carson Wentz, Cooper Kupp, they're making believers out of the FCS, and fans are definitely going to have to keep an eye on some of these performers, not only in the playoffs this weekend and next weekend, but of course the Senior Bowl in East West. So I think fans realize how critical these guys are, especially, of course, what we saw out of Wentz with the Eagles this season. And we talked a lot about these guys the last 2 years during our draft coverage, and we look forward to talking more about them and some of the guys that we talked about today and many more, not only this season but in seasons to come. So, Dan, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the games, and we look forward to talking to you again, hopefully in the next week.
You betcha. Thanks a million, Greg.
Thanks, Dan. All right, so Dan Shonka here on the Our Lads Football Radio Network, the Scouting Section. Want to thank him for his profiles once again. We're getting real soon to turning the corner for 2018, and when we do that, we're going to start picking up steam for the 2018 NFL Draft coverage on a weekly basis. So that'll wrap it up. We'll see you later tonight. Oregon-Boise State preview. We'll talk about that bowl game at 8 o'clock tonight. If you're listening live, we've got a preview. We're going to talk about some of the Oregon Ducks to keep an eye on as well. And then tomorrow we have more college football coverage, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock here on the Our Lads Football Radio Network, where it's never too early to think about the NFL Draft.